Welcome to the Julia Amante channel. For just meeting, I am Julia Amante. I'm a women's fiction author and also here on Fridays to give you some writing tips. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is plotting. So especially if you are not someone who is heavy into plotting or outlining your story. You have a story to tell, but you don't know where to start. Let me show you how to free your story. I teach you how to write and how to dig deep in your soul to release your story and make a difference in the world. When I first started, I was definitely a pantser, meaning that, I flew from the seat of my pants, right? I did not plot at all. I had some story ideas, I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't do any more than that. I just sat down and I started writing to see what happened. What did my character do? Where did the story go? And it was just kind of fun to see what happened, right? To discover the story along with the reader. The problem with that is that it tends to lead to bad stuff, right? So the character ends up doing things that you weren't expecting, or you hit a place, a spot in your novel where it's not exciting, it's sort of dull, or characters come in that you weren't expecting. Anyhow, it's not organized, and so I found that it wasn't the best thing to do. I still love it. I still love to just sit down and write. It's still exciting to me, and sometimes I will do that for parts of the story, but I started to read about plot structure, and I started to just kind of see, okay, well, what is plotting exactly? What is it that I should be doing? What is it that successful authors do? And so I read a lot of things. One of the books that I read was A Writer's Journey by Christopher Vogler. Really liked the book because he works mostly with screenwriters, right? So he uses a lot of movies in his book as examples of, and what he does is he combines the three-act structure, which is, if you just Google the 3X structure, if you don't know what it is, you'll see a million things about it, right? About how a story is structured. And I can also link where I've spoken about that before. But basically it's a story that's broken into 3 acts, right? So the first act is just the introduction, the very beginning of the story where the problem is set up. The second act is the development of that and what happens to the character and all the things that the character goes through. And then the third act is really sort of the closing. It's sort of that dark moment and what happens and how he gets out of that, whatever situation that you've put the character in. But what I liked about A Writer's Journey was that he tied the 3-act structure to the hero's journey and all the things that happen to the hero along the way. And again, I've made videos about that, and I've also blogged about it. So I will link more information about that if you're interested and you want to take a look at that. But I started off with that, and then I went to a conference out in Maui. It was really a great conference. There were so many interesting people there, and Chris was one of the speakers that was going to be there that day. So I was really excited. I took my book, got it autographed by him, attended his workshop, and liked him even more because, again, he just explained it in a way that I enjoyed. So that was my introduction, and there were other books as well that I read about plot, right? It wasn't just his, I read a bunch of them. But I liked his, and I liked the idea of the hero's journey and, dividing your story into 3 acts. And so I went through a very small stage where I overplotted, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do everything that people tell you to do. So I'm going to have my character books, diaries of the whole biography of each character, and know everything about them and their past and their hurts and all these things. And I'm going to just do all the things that people tell you to do for plotting. So I overplotted, and that didn't go well either because it was just too much information. It was, by the time it was time to write the story, I was like, I don't even care about the story anymore. I'm so tired of these characters. I know everything about them, and you know, I knew all the scenes that were going to happen, and I had all these sticky notes on my wall, and I'd overplotted. I'd already written the story, and it wasn't any fun to write the story at that point. I didn't want to write the story. It was like, ugh, I have to put all this stuff into, you know, I already did all this work and now I have to actually write it down. I didn't want to do it. It just wasn't any fun. So I decided there had to be something in between, right? In between not doing any plotting and doing so much plotting that you're just sick of your story. And it's, you know, and it works for some authors. It just didn't work for me. So some authors really love having all that stuff and just having this, you know, book and Bible of everything that they've ever thought about for the novel and having it all there. But for me, it just wasn't what I wanted. So what do I do now? Now I'm somewhere in between, right? Since I do some outlining so that I know the major points of the novel. I have no idea what the scenes are going to be like. I might know a few scenes, like I might know I want certain scenes to get to certain points. But I have no idea really what's going to happen. I know the major points that the character is going to hit. I know the changes that the author has that the character has to go through, and you know, I know how the character should transform based on how the story is going to flow. But aside from that, I give myself the freedom to jump into the story and to start writing. And as if I write and I find that, you know, it's heading in a different direction and I really like this direction a little bit better, then I will go with that. I still can hit some dead ends. I still can, you know, find that it's not working exactly the way I want it to work. But for the most part, I can stick to this very loose outline and I can feel like I've got a roadmap, I've got some structure to the novel. I can see like what the character is going to go through, what are the major points, what are the major setbacks that this character is going to face, and how they're going to get to the end, right? So it really helps me you know, it really helps me to have that little bit of structure and also have a little bit of freedom. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So what I want to share today, though, is one plotting structure. The reason I bring up like the three-act structure and stuff, because to me, every plotting structure that is out there is basically using the same idea. They just phrase it a little bit different, do it, you know, a little different, maybe give it a little twist or a little change, but it's basically the same thing, and it's also basically the hero's journey, which is why I like Chris Vogler's book, because it's all there, and everything that I've seen after that. And again, I don't know that Chris was the first one. There might have been other. You know, I mean, I know that he wasn't, because there were other books before that, but it was the first one I was introduced to. So, you know, that's what I went with. And then things that have come after seem to be just sort of a repetition of the same thing. And but everything works differently, right? Like you can have different teachers that are telling you the exact same thing. They're telling you it in their way, and it might make more sense to you in that way than it does in a different way. And so, you know, use the structure that works for you. So what I hope to do here in the next few videos is to introduce you to different plotting structures, which again seem to be very just different versions of the three-act structure in the hero's journey. But some may be better for you. So you may like some more than others. You may say, hey, this really works for me. I want to do this. And so, you know, if it helps you, you know, think of one better than the other, then, you know, use that one, whatever works for you. So today what I want to talk about, and I will share my screen here in a second so that you can see, because it is sort of visual, is going to be the W plotting structure. So if you haven't heard of that, I'm going to introduce you to that. If you have heard of it, then I'm going to explain it to you again the way I see it, and hopefully that will give you an idea of what it's like and see if it's something that you want to try to plot your story. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch to sharing my screen. Okay, so let's take a look at this structure. The reason that it's called the W plotting structure is probably going to be obvious to you because it looks like a W, right? There are high points and low points in the story, and it's shaped like a W. Okay, so let's look at the five. So there's five main points here that happen in the story. You're going to have your triggering event. That's going to go down the slope of the W to the first turning point. It's going to go back up to the second triggering event, back down to the second turning point, and then back up to the resolution. So I want to take a moment here to please ask you to like this video if it's helping you, and to also subscribe to the channel and come back and see me every Friday because I will have new tips for you on writing. All right, so let's continue. I'm going to use just an example just so that you get an idea, right, of the storytelling. But what happens with this plotting structure is that you have your triggering event first. What does that mean? Well, something triggers the story. There's something that happens at the beginning of the story that's going to shoot you into the story, right? So your character is living their normal life, whatever that may be. It may be a happy life. It may be an unhappy life. It may be, they may be having issues, right? So if it's an unhappy life, they may be having marital issues. They may have problems at work. They may just not have a very exciting life. Maybe they're just very bored. Or they may be having a great life, right? They're at the top of their game. They're in the job that they love, and everything's great. They have a great marriage. Everything is wonderful, but something happens. So that's the thing. That's the triggering event, right? Something happens from their ordinary life, which again is very similar to, it's exactly, in fact, not very similar. It's exactly like the hero's journey, right? The characters in their ordinary life, something happens, this triggering event. Okay, so then what happens after that? Once this event happens, so let me give you an example of a character who is at the top of their game, let's say. Okay, everything's going great. She has a wonderful boyfriend, let's say. She has a great job, and then she gets fired. Okay, something happens. Maybe she's not meeting her sales goal. Maybe something happens. They fire her. So that is the triggering event. Now, what happens from there? The slope says setting up the problem. Well, what does that mean? That means that we're showing you what is going to happen to her now, right? So she's going to go down this downward spiral. Maybe she gets depressed. Maybe she just sleeps for weeks and weeks. Maybe she starts drinking. Maybe she does the opposite. Maybe she just starts partying. Maybe she does whatever it is that's not good because she's not dealing with this triggering event. She was doing wonderful. Maybe she ends up, her boyfriend leaves her because it's like, oh, well, you lost your job, you're acting like a jerk. And so the relationship falls apart. She loses her apartment because she can't pay her rent. So things get worse, 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 worse until you get down to the first turning point. So what's the first turning point? Something has to happen. She has to hit bottom, right? So after this triggering event, she went down all these things that were not good and realizes here at this first turning, maybe she gets tossed out of her apartment. And now that she's lost her job, her boyfriend, everything, she's not doing well. She's drinking too much. And now on top of it, it's, she gets her third notice or whatever it is, and they toss her out of her apartment. And so now she's got nothing. Okay. So, we hear about people having to hit bottom before they do something. That's what happens. So something happens. So she hits the bottom, right? Well, then what happens? You're at the bottom of this first leg of the W. Now she's going to go up. She has to make a decision. She's going to do something. She has to do something. There's nothing that she can do, right? She has to. So she creates a goal. She decides, okay, my ultimate goal here at the top is going to be that I'm going to create my own company. I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to have my own company. And not only that, I am going to put this other company that fired me out of business. I'm going to be the top business of whatever it is. So she starts working towards that, right? So she starts, she rents an apartment, maybe that has a little home office at first, and starts with that. She starts building her clientele. She starts making some money. She starts getting more clients. She does, well. She starts moving towards that goal. So we start seeing the progression of the scenes towards that goal. So you have to figure out how she's going to recover from this problem that she has, right? Of the triggering event and all the other little problems that she created because of or that were created because of this problem. Maybe she didn't create them, but maybe they were created. Then she, right, things are getting better until we have the second triggering event. But and you can see here that it's at the top, right? So it's great. Everything's going well. Maybe at the very top, she ends up getting maybe an amazing client that is going to make her tons of money. Maybe the client is actually used to be a client at her old company. They leave that company and come to her. So she's moving towards that goal now, right? Now, not only is she doing well with her business, but she's now taking clients from her. So from her old business, her old company. So that's going to get her towards that goal of getting even with this other company, right? Of putting them out of business and actually becoming the top business. So now what happens, right? If it keeps going well, then it's the end of the story. We have to have things not go well. So now we're going to deepen her original problem, right, of having lost her job and all the things that happened. So now things start to spiral down. Maybe this company decides, oh, really? No, this isn't going to happen. You took our best client. We're going to sue you. Maybe they start to spread rumors about her so that this big business that, her big client decides, oh, well, maybe I don't want to maybe I don't want you to represent me or whatever, right? So things start to happen that she has to deal with now, that starts to make it look like maybe her business is not going to do as well as she expected. So events happen that create a problem for her again, right? Maybe she starts to have financial problems again. Things just start to unravel so that things are not going well until we finally hit the second turning point. Maybe at this point she does lose it. Maybe she loses the lawsuit. Maybe whatever it is, right? It's going to be something that is bad. Maybe not as bad as this, or could be equally bad as the first turning point. It could even be worse than the first turning point. So now maybe not only is she, here she didn't have anything to lose. She lost her job. She didn't really have anything else to lose. She had to go up, right? Here, maybe it's worse because now she has built a business. Now she has had that success. And if she loses the business, then what, right? So this second turning point is another low point in her journey. And this second turning point has to be, we're in Act 3. So again, this is a 3-act structure. This beginning is going to be a very short beginning, right? It's going to be maybe 10% of the story. You have Act 2 that's going to be the majority of your story, which is, all of this recovering from that problem, growing the business, then, having the issues with the business. Now we're at the resolution, which is going to be probably the last 25%, let's say, of your story, where she has to resolve this problem. What is she going to do? How is she going to fix this now? And what we have to do is we have to show that this character has learned something from all this stuff that went on in Act 2. Okay, so yeah, she's at a low point, but she's not going to be at the low point she was here in some ways, if she's learned, right? Which we want her to have grown and learned. So if she has, she will handle this problem a lot better than she handled getting fired originally. So we want to show how she resolves this problem. What does she do as this sort of new character, new person who has grown and learned? How is she going to resolve this problem and reach a resolution? Maybe when she reaches the resolution, she saves her business, but maybe she doesn't save her business. Maybe her business actually ends up failing. But it's okay because she has learned now that she can handle things, that she can start something else. She could do something else. It's not the end of the world, like when she got fired where she had no confidence and she just was depressed, right? This time, even at the resolution, if she does lose the business, she's a new person. She's a changed person and she's going to do much better. Or maybe she ends up that she does save her business and she has her clients, but she no longer really wants to get even with this other company. She doesn't want to put this other company out of business. She really could care less what happens to them. She's got her own business. She's happy. Maybe she's learned that work is not the most important thing. Maybe as she's resolving her problem somewhere along the line here, she gets a new relationship too, right? So that or friends. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be friends or something that she realizes is probably more important than just the business. So as you're resolving the problem and heading to the resolution, you want to show that the character is this new person, is this better person. And then we finally reach the resolution, which again can be, she can reach the goal, she can maybe have a new goal if it's not, or it doesn't have to be the exact same goal that she set at the very beginning of this turning point. Okay, so that's what the W looks like. So again, it's you can see that it's very similar to the hero's journey. It also has that 3-act structure. Now, I do want to share that there's some people that don't see it as a 3-act structure, and that's okay, because honestly, it's the same whether you call it a 3-act structure or a 4-act structure. But I will share with you another. Hold on, let me pull it up here, a different version of this. Let's pull it up here. There we go. Okay, so this is just another version. It can look different, right? So it can look like this first leg is Act 1, second leg is Act 2, third leg is Act 3, fourth leg is Act 4. Actually, I think I redid this because this should be going up. So let me pull that up. Come on. There we go. Yeah, I realized that my arrow was going the wrong way. So there we go. Anyhow, it can be a 3-act or it can be a 4-act, but it's the same thing. You still have the triggering event, you still have the first turning point, second triggering event, second turning point, resolution. Everything is the same. But if it helps you visually to think of it as 4 acts, right? At the end of Act 1, we get to the first turning point. At the end of Act 2, we get to the triggering event. At the end of Act 3, we get to the second turning point. End of Act 4, we get to the resolution. However, you know, it helps you to think and visualize your story, then you use that. So again, this could be just an easier way to look at it. And some writers will also actually have this, like, put it on a wall or something where you can visually see it. If you're a visual writer and it helps you to visualize your story, kind of storyboarding it, then this would be a really good thing, because you can write like your scenes, right? What are some of the scenes that are happening as this triggering event happens, and as you're heading towards this first turning point? What are some scenes that are going to help you to get to that first turning point? And then what are the great things that are going to be happening as she's recovering from the problem? Again, this is just a different way of looking at it, but it's the same, same idea. So the reason that this W, so I'm going to actually stop sharing the screen here. Okay, so now that you've seen what the W looks like, the W plot structure looks like, you can see that if you are not a heavy plotter, this can still help you, because as long as you know those 5 points, right, those 5 major points, then it can help you to sort of plot, think, at least you have those things, right? What has to happen? What is that triggering event? Where is that going to lead that character? How's that character going to get out of that problem, right? And it helps you just to have that structure and to visualize the story. So if you are not a heavy plotter, this might be something that just will help you get a little structure and get the feel of your story. If you are a plotter, I think it could still help you, because this is a good way to start. And then you can go into detail. You can sit there with your outline and say, okay, what is going to happen here in Act 1, right? I know I'm going from my triggering event to that first turning point. And if that's the case, then what do I need to do to get there, right? What are some scenes that I can plug in here that are going to work So it can help you if you are a deeper plotter, because now you have your structure and you can add your scenes to it. And it will, make you feel better to have that more of a deeper outline. So it is a nice way of looking at plotting. It's a nice structure to use. So I thought I would start with that one because that is something that I think could work for both plotters and non-plotters, and maybe give you a way to structure your story. So I hope that helped. If it did, then please hit that like button, hit the share button, share it with anybody who is interested in writing. Tell them to come see me on Fridays, and I will share what I can and what I know about writing. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you again next Friday.